Yes, guys. Welcome back to another video. Lots to discuss today. Loads of transfer rumours flying around. A bit of injury news as well. We'll touch on Southgate. We'll touch on Jack Grealish. That's one that has really sort of opened up a can of worms and a massive debate on Twitter as well. Before we get into it, make sure you drop a like. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you're giving us your thoughts and comments down below and in the live chat. I'm joined with Joe. Joe, how you doing, bro? You good, man?
All good. Yeah, all good. It's actually. I thought I'd miss City at this point, but I think after how horrendous the end of the season was in terms of like stress, I'm quite enjoying not having City games to worry about every single weekend. So
now you got England.
I was gonna say now I have England stresses to worry about instead, which is a slightly different kind of stress.
At least with England, you know we're not going to win anything, so it's kind of like just because we know we're not winning anything with this manager, and therefore it's just like we'll just watch it, and then when we go out, we'll go out, and everyone will have the moments. But
I never go into tournaments with England expecting us to win. Like even we could have whatever squad we have. It like look at France's squad, man. Like it doesn't matter. Like we're fine. I'm all right with us getting to like the quarters or the semi. Well, maybe not the quarters. I'd quite like us to get from the Euros. I'd like to get to the semis at least. But as long as the games on the way there are pretty decent, like people have their opinions on Southgate, and I'm not here to tell anyone that they can't hate his football because fuck me, is it bad? But I can't pretend that the 2018 World Cup and the 2020 Euros haven't been like my best England watching experiences like ever. Like the guys.
Is that not just because the bar was so low though?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, like before that, I think my favourite tournament watching England is probably either 2002 or 2004. Like that's how far back he had to go.
Mine would have been 2002.
Yeah, 2002 was that Argentina game. Waking up at like 6 a.m. to watch us beat Argentina 1-0. Unreal. Southgate's a weird one, and he's like, I think he's pretty polarizing for a good reason.
For me, bro, there's a couple of reasons I hate the guy. Yeah, one, he's done nothing in his career to justify having the England job. Nothing. Like as a manager, what did he do as a manager? He didn't do very good as a manager. Like he had one decent first season where he finished like 7th or 8th with Middlesbrough or something like that, and then after that, nothing. It was bad. As a player, again, look, he's won one trophy as a player. As a manager, the only thing he's won is an under-17s Toulon tournament. My problem with him, is he doesn't deserve to be in the job. And like, I know people say, yeah, but he's done a good job as a manager. He has, but he's also had a very fortunate run in the tournaments that he's had. Maybe bar one where we played Germany, but even so, that Germany team was a bit washed. But I'll give him credit where credit's due. He did do well in that one. But the rest, like, he's always had an easy run, and that's not, you can't dispute it. The truth, you just have a look at the runs. So for me, I just don't think I don't think he's a winner. I don't think he's a winner. I don't think we're ever going to win anything with him. And we played the worst football. It's just horrendous to watch. Like people don't want to watch this England team. So for me, I'd rather sack him, get a manager who plays good attacking football. We probably still won't win anything, but at least people will enjoy watching the football. That's kind of where I'm at it. But
so I'm actually, in terms of his time with England, I'm actually perfectly happy with what Southgate's done. Like I know that it's not in many instances. Like I think Qatar was a bit of a shit. That was just shit. Like there wasn't much to enjoy from an England point of view about that. The football wasn't great. And then we got battered by France. I say we got battered by France. We didn't get battered, but we lost to France as soon as we came up against like the first decent team, which, as you say, apart from Germany in the Euros, is a bit of a running theme. And that's the main sort of counter that I kind of agree with when it comes to sort of the idea of getting rid of Southgate, is that no matter what happens in any tournament, with the exception of that Germany game, like you say, we get to a tournament and then we come up against the first team that is sort of in and around the top sort of like 6-7 ranked teams in the world. And it's immediately just like we're out the tournament. And I think that is, that can. I think when it comes to the sort of the idea of Southgate being a good manager or not, like international football is just totally different to club football. Like he did pretty well with the under-21s, and we've got to remember as well that when sort of like it was Allardyce who'd just come in after the Roy Hodgson era, and I think it's fair to say that the England squad did not look at all happy. That Iceland game was sort of very much the nail in the coffin for Roy Hodgson, wasn't it? And that squad just looked like it fucking hated being at England. And I know that he's been a lot of people like to think that he's just some like happy clapper who's like, he comes in and he's just put an arm around everyone and he's just made everyone happy again. But that genuinely at the time was very much needed. Like we needed someone who just made people want to enjoy coming back to England squads. And you could maybe argue that even in just like the 6 or 7 years, God, it's nearly 8 years now, isn't it, since Southgate took over, that since he's come in, the way that players who have come up through the England youth ranks in that time, like everyone in the England squad now, I would wager would probably still be mates whether Southgate is the manager or not. Like, I don't think Southgate at this current moment in time now, with the way that this crop of youngsters come through, like you see it all the time, like all the England, like if you're a young English player, you're probably mates with like most of the other young English players in the Premier League. Like they're all just mates with each other nowadays. That's just how football is. So maybe that sort of, that harmonizing element of Southgate, we don't need it anymore. Like we've had it. It's worked. It's got us to that it got us those 2 tournaments in terms of the Euros final and that semi-final in the World Cup, and that was unreal. And that's like no matter if Southgate leaves after this tournament and we get knocked out in the group stage, like I don't care. I'll consider his time at England a success no matter what because of those first 2 tournaments. But I do fully understand why anybody I have absolutely zero interest in watching England outside of tournaments. Like friendlies and qualifiers are just so fucking painfully boring to watch because the football is bad. And I completely understand why anybody wants to, like you said, roll a dice on an attacking manager who plays some better football. And if we still don't win, then what have we lost? Like
exactly. Listen, that's where I'm at with it. It's kind of sad because now like getting beat last night again, well not again, but like it's just puts a whole like fucking hell, like what's going to happen in this tournament. But listen, we'll wait and see. Sticking with England though, obviously Jack Grealish dropped from the squad. There's been quite a lot of reaction to this, including this that's come out. It says, shock at Jack Grealish's omission from Southgate's squad was not restricted to the England group. Many around the Germany camp were stunned as they see Grealish as a player who provokes fear in opposition when he runs at them. This doesn't just appear to have shocked Jack Grealish and a lot of fans. It appears to shock journalists, other footballers. I mean, I can't lie. If we're being honest with you, right? If you're doing form, obviously doesn't deserve to be in there based off of form.
Yeah.
But I do think you have to have a blend in the squad of inform and players who have experience and players who can bring certain attributes. And I personally think that what Jack Grealish can bring you in an international knockout game, just like in the Champions League, in my view, is something that is worth its weight in gold. And I really think that this is a mistake. I actually think not taking Maguire was a mistake. I know he's injured, but I think he would have been back for the knockout rounds anyway. I'm, to be honest with you, I'm stunned as well that he's not took both of them. I really am. I don't know if you're just going off the form or what's your view on the Grealish thing?
So it's with Grealish in particular. Maguire is kind of a bit of an odd one because I know that was it the last tour, was it Qatar or was it the Euros where Maguire did miss the first couple of games as well and he came back in after a couple of games.
I think it was the one before. I think it was the Euros.
Yeah.
I think,
and maybe he just wants to avoid that again. Maybe he just wants a settled defense throughout the entire tournament. Maybe that's what Southgate's going for. So he doesn't want to sort of. But then why not just have Maguire there? I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, but on the Grealish thing, it's. I completely understand, like you say, on form, he doesn't deserve to go. Like the season he's had, like you would not say, get him to the Euros, like now kind of thing. But I think, as you say, it's experience. Like if you look at the number of players who we've got in the squads, was it Joe Cole yesterday who was saying that like 14 of them have never kicked a ball in a tournament in their life.
It's a very, very inexperienced squad.
Yeah, and I think also with Grealish is that even if he's not in the best form, what he does is when we're winning a game, taking City, for example, if we're winning a game and it's 1-0 and it's looking ropey in the last 10, 15 minutes, who do you bring on? You bring on Jack Grealish because he'll keep hold of the ball. Everyone likes to laugh at him for sort of cutting in and passing backwards, but at the end of the day, when you're winning a game, that keeping possession and recycling the ball is exactly what you want. He's an absolute foul magnet. Like he gets fouls for fun, and that just slows the game down, takes any momentum out of what the opposition might be doing, sort of go for get counter-attacks and stuff like that. Like what he brings, even if you are just going to restrict his minutes to sort of those, we've got a narrow lead going into the last 15, 20 minutes of a game, that is still worth more to me than what, say, for example, Eze brings as someone who's never kicked a ball in the tournament in their life, probably won't start any of the games, and is realistically just going to be a bench player who'll be brought on for a bit of impact at the end of the game. I saw someone tweet, I can't remember who it was, and I'm pretty annoyed that I can't say who it was because I just don't remember, but someone said that, like, Eze and Bowen, the kind of, and to an extent maybe Anthony Gordon as well, like if we assume that he's not going to start the games in sort of the first 11, those are players who you bring on when we're not winning to change a game. They're the ones who you bring on to sort of get a goal when you need it or to make something happen. Who do you bring on when you just want to see out a game and kill it? Like there isn't anyone in that sort of front of those front-minded players. Every single one of those front-minded players you've got, their MO is to attack and to try and make goals happen. Agreed. And when you're in a narrow lead kind of position, which in international tournaments is always going to happen at some point, you want to at least you surely want the option. Now, maybe Grealish has mentioned in his end of season interviews with City that he's had a lot of off the field stuff, and maybe it is just a legitimate case that mentally he's not quite fully there. But then also all the noises coming out of the England camp, from Grealish's camp, from the Germany camp, apparently, like everyone's pretty amazed that he's not involved, and so obviously Grealish thinks that he's sound and that he's good to go. So yeah, it seems like a bit of it's for me that the inexperienced thing is just really weird because there's rumors going around that this is going to be Southgate's final tournament. So why don't you just go out with all the experienced boys? Like surround yourself with as much experience as possible. Like one last tournament kind of thing. Obviously, you're going to want some youngsters in there, but your potential final tournament as England manager seems like a really weird time to take 14, 15, tournament debutants when this is your potentially last chance ever to take England into an international tournament. Exactly.
And for me, I go back to what you said about when we're winning and you maybe want to see out the game, that's 10 minutes, that's 15 minutes. I'm not sitting there saying Jack Grealish should be starting, but I'm just saying, like, if you need to see out a game, who's the best player that can do that? It's Jack Grealish. I've also got to say as well, he's a winner. Yeah. How many of these forwards have won stuff? Bowen, to be fair, has won a Conference League. Eze's won nothing. Foden will obviously, is he going to play midfield or on the wing? He's probably going to be stuck out on the left now. Gordon's not won anything. Kane's not won anything. Palmer's obviously won a trophy at City. Saka's not won anything. Tony's not won anything. Watkins not won anything. So not only have you lost what you described in that player that can come on or see out a game when you're under the pressure that you're winning, you've also lost a winner.
Yeah.
Which I think is really, really underrated, because if you're in a big game, if you're in a semi-final or a final, massive game, for most of these players, maybe the biggest game they've ever played in their career. But Jack Grealish played a Champions League final versus Inter Milan. So, if there's a couple of players in there that are looking a little bit nervy, Grealish can be one of those players that can just calm everyone down a little bit with the likes of Foden. And there's not many other players in that team, to be honest, that have won a lot of stuff. But you need winners. He's took a winner out of that team. I mean, again, look how many players have actually won stuff. Wharton, not won anything. Miney, obviously won an FA Cup.
Yeah.
There's so many players in this list.
Gallagher's won nothing. Oh, did he win the Champions League, actually? He might have done. Yeah, I think for me, we were talking about this in a group chat last night, and someone likened it to the Spain generation when they literally just took Madrid and Barcelona and just went, right, you two are like obviously the most successful clubs in the country by a good distance. You've got all the best players. We're just going to blend the two of them together with a couple of sort of supporting players and make that happen. Why have we not just taken every City, Liverpool, and Arsenal player that we can? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, obviously, like City are the ones who you want pretty much every English player you can. Like, even I would argue Rico Lewis is a better option to take than Adam Wharton, for example. Like Adam Wharton's looked very good, and I'm not disputing his quality at all. But Rico Lewis knows what it's like to win stuff. He's got the mentality of doing that. Adam Wharton has not made an England camp in his life prior to, well, not a senior England camp prior to 2 weeks ago, and now he's in the tournament. Whereas someone like Rico Lewis, who admittedly hasn't been getting anywhere near as much game time as Wharton, to be fair, but has made an England squad before this, maybe 2, I can't remember. And yeah, and has the experience of winning a treble, winning 4 in a row, like winning all the various trophies that he's done on the way to doing that as well. And it's like, and again, like you look, as you pointed out there, you've got a forward line who has two players who've won something, a midfield that has 1, 2, 3, 4 players who've won something. I mean, and then the back line's the biggest issue for England by a country mile. Like our sort of best case back line is Kyle Walker, who anyone who's seen me talk about Kyle Walker this season knows that I think he's had a massive drop off this season and is very liable to to be the cause of a goal that goes against us. Jones, who, as we saw last night, cannot do 90 minutes of football. And then his partner will be someone making their tournament debut, most likely. And then on the left, you've either got Luke Shaw, who's just come back from a very long-term injury, or Kieran Trippier, who's been crap for 6 months, who's playing on the wrong side. Like, it just it's difficult. I mean, the usual sort of pre-England, it's coming home, we're gonna win it hype always happens. But I just think when you look at this squad and the makeup of it in a lot of ways, it's difficult to really see where any idea that we're gonna.
I think as well, the midfield selection tells me that Foden's going to be on the wing because 100%. I think he's going to play Rice, Bellingham, Kobe Mainu. Yeah, and that's why he's took Wharton, because if Kobe Mainu
might even be Trent, instead of Mainu.
Potentially, but he's going to play. He's not playing Foden in the middle.
It's not Foden, yeah, 100%.
Foden's going to be the left winger, 100%, and then he won't have an impact because he's playing left wing, and then people will be like, "Oh, Foden's not doing it for England again," despite the fact that he's not playing in his preferred position, his best position. And it's just like, it's a little bit annoying. But anyway, that's the England section. Anything else you want to touch on before we move away from England and get onto the transfers, bro?
Nah. England aren't just everyone's watching. Just come and accept the fact that England aren't going to win this tournament. Just enjoy the 3 or 4 games that we do have, and then enjoy France winning it, because that's what's going to happen.
That'll probably what's happening. Right, first bit of transfer news. Real Sociedad have opened talks with Sergio Gomez of Man City, with initial negotiations taking place. Well, a lot of City fans love this guy. They call him the Goatmez. Sergio Gomez. No real surprise he's leaving this season. Clearly not trusted. Do you think he should have been given an opportunity further up the pitch on the wing, in the wing positions, like he done for Spain when he got Golden Boot in the under 21 Euros, or do you just think he's just not quite good enough for City's level?
I just think when you look at the other players who are available in those positions, it's difficult to really say that Sergio Gomez didn't get a fair shake. I mean, he didn't play any real serious minutes in those positions, but would anybody have, if we go into a game in the Premier League and you see Sergio Gomez starting on left or right wing, you're probably thinking, why the fuck is Foden not playing? Why is Grealish not playing? Why is Doku not playing? Like, it's just a case of, we signed him on the cheap because he gave some pretty good utility cover, and we're probably going to sell him for a decent profit after he's been around. He's played his part in some games, to be honest. That United 6-3 last season, he was great in that. He was great in that game. He's always, I think he's actually his ability to find, certainly Haaland with those crosses from the left-hand side, is actually really good. So Sociedad will get themselves a decent player by, he's absolutely got talent. He's gonna be playing a European level, I imagine, at some point in the next 3-4 years. But yeah, it's just a simple case of just not good enough for City, which isn't. I also feel like, I don't
know if you agree with this, but I also feel like he might have lost the trust of Pep a little bit, and I feel like he lost it after the Copenhagen game where he got himself sent off.
Yeah.
I feel like that happens a lot with Pep Guardiola. Now, maybe if you're a big name, if you're a star or whatever, then maybe like it doesn't happen as much. But if you're like a player that he's not too sure on. Like Fabian Delph, if we'll be honest, it happened to Fabian
Yeah.
Delph. Like Fabian
Yeah.
Delph was at left back. He was mint for a long time. And then he had a few games where he was bad. And that was it. Then he just Pep was like, "Nah, you ain't it." And I think it happened maybe to Zinchenko to a certain degree, and even John Stones. He could say it happened to John Stones at the end of the season. Pep just didn't really trust him, and then he never really played until the final game in the FA Cup. Played him, and look what happened. We lost. So I just think like that with Pep, you got to keep the confidence. But listen, this is the big news that came out last night. Stefan Ortega is now expected to sign a new Manchester City contract, but does this mean that Ederson is going to be leaving? Because, obviously there's a lot of talk about Ederson potentially leaving the football club. Stefan Ortega reportedly wanted more minutes. So he signed a new contract. Does that mean he knows something that we don't? Obviously, if it's not, and we're keeping Ortega and we're keeping Ederson, then it's great news, but I think people are massively underestimating how bad it would be if Ederson leaves. In my opinion.
Mate, anyone who's it annoyed me quite a lot last season when, because obviously Ortega is great at shot stopping. He's an unreal shot stopper. Like that is just undisputed. Like the number of times in the cup games over the last couple of years, like even if you just take away like the obvious, like that Son save towards the end of the season, like. All of his cup performances. I remember Liverpool and Chelsea in the was it the FA Cup or the Carabao, or one might have been Carabao, one might have been FA Cup. Like not this season just gone, but the one before. He was unreal. He was honestly like we should have probably conceded 2 or 3 goals in both those games, and Ortega's the reason why we didn't, and it was just because he's an amazing shot stopper. He absolutely deserves to be playing first team football somewhere. Just not at Manchester City at the expense of Ederson. Like, unfortunately, that's just he is not as good as Ederson. Like I know that Ederson. It's so strange because I think Ederson suffers, as he did a lot of times in his early days at City, with the fact that all the chances that we give up for the most part are very like sort of high quality chances, like because of the high line we play. Realistically, if a team's getting a chance against us, it's because something has happened where a player is in a lot of open space and has just got to hit it at just Ederson or the rest of the net. And I think that in that case, it's very difficult to sort of say that Ederson is totally at fault for every goal he concedes. There's obviously a lot of goals where I look at it and go, "Oh, Ederson, you could have done better there," as there is the case with every goalkeeper. But I think that if you've been watching Manchester City for the last 3 or 4 years and you think that Ederson is a problem, and then you think that Ortega is a solution to that problem based on what a dozen appearances over the last couple of years, I'm not really sure what you're looking at, because what Ederson does in everything else, like obviously his shot stopping, you could argue that, and I think last time I was on here, we spoke about Ortega, and I think the argument was that he's a better shot stopper than Ederson, and that could well be true, to be honest. But I think Ederson's level at the rest of the stuff that Pep wants in terms of playing out from the back and that sort of inability to be phased by like players literally do not bother pressing Ederson. Like opposition teams don't even do it because there's no point. Like it'll do nothing to him. So I think that cannot be. We can't, like that literally to quote Pep when Aguero left, like we can't replace it. Like, it cannot be replaced. Like
we cannot replace him.
Yeah, it's I think if we let Ederson go, unless Ederson's literally just he's there banging on the door saying, "Please, for the love of God, let me go. Like I really want to go to Saudi and earn 600 grand a week." What can we do with that? Like if that's the case, then fine. But we better get some good money for him, because if that 20 million bid that went around a week or so ago is legit, then we should absolutely just not be even entertaining that. But if Ederson isn't forcing this move, we shouldn't be. Personally, when it comes to this Ortega new deal, I suspect it's a release clause. This is just me. I've got nothing to base this on. This is just a pure cope guess that I'm making here. But I suspect that it's the case, because he said at the end of last season that he was quite happy with sort of the game time that he'd had last year. Now, obviously, that is largely because Ederson managed to get himself knocked out a few times over the course of the season, and Ortega had to step in every now and then, which you can't rely on. Those aren't reliable minutes that Ortega's going to get every single season. So maybe if next season Ortega finds himself where he's literally just played the Carabao and the FA Cup and nothing else, he might think, right, that's it now, I'm done. And therefore, and then we've given him a new contract that has a little bit of a pay rise to sort of recognise what he's done this last couple of years, but also has a release clause so that if he does want to leave next season, it's very easy for him.
I've been told there is a release clause.
Oh, well, there you go then. So that kind of, to me, him and Ederson both staying, with that being the case, doesn't seem that far-fetched in that case because, because if Ederson stays, and it looks like it's probably going to need a new deal for Ederson to stay, because I think all this talk of him going to Saudi feels very sort of agent wanting a new deal kind of vibe.
I don't know if you've seen, but I've said this a lot. Compared to other goalkeepers around Europe, he's actually massively underpaid, you know.
Yeah. Did we give him a massive... Did we not give him like a 5-year deal like during his first season, I think, or just after the first season?
I think so, yeah. He's on. He's not on like a lot of money compared to a lot of other goalkeepers.
Is he on like less than 200?
I think he's on like 90k a week, bro.
No, surely not.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. If that's true, then no wonder Saudi appeals to him.
Yeah,
you can literally like multiply his wages by 7 or 8 if that's the case.
Yeah, bro. He's on 100 grand a week he's on. He's not in the top 12 highest paid goalkeepers in Europe.
That is insane.
I think you're gonna have to put him on like 250k.
Yeah, you have to double that. I mean, if you're gonna say to him like, I want to, we want you to stay, and Pep's talked about how much he thinks that Ederson is vital. Like even when Ortega was coming in and playing well, Pep made it pretty clear that Ederson is the number one. Like there isn't a competition to be had there. Like and you can maybe look at that and say, if Ortega's signing a new deal, then maybe he knows that he isn't number one anymore and that maybe he is going. But also, I just think from a City point of view, we'd be absolutely stupid to let Ederson go, like full stop. Like if he wants 250 grand a week, like he's your first choice goalkeeper at like a treble /4 in a row winning club.
Check this out.
You got to do it.
This is the highest paid goalkeepers in Europe. Look at all these goalkeepers. Ramsdale, more money than him.
Oh my god.
Oh, Nana, Areola, Martinez, Pickford, Alisson, Kobel, Kepa, Yassine Benu, Keylor Navas, Edward Mendy, Chesney. Chesney's on more money than him. Donnarumma, Courtois, Jan Oblak, and Manuel Neuer. All these players are on more money than Ederson. So Ederson is actually massively underpaid based off the current going rate around Europe. Yeah. Clearly, I mean, he's here. Quote it. He's not getting paid fair market value, and he needs a rise. So I think
it's absolutely fair then that he is like. If you look at say Edouard Mendy, for example, who is in Saudi Arabia and the money that he's earning, I think he should be. If we assume that this is correct, just for argument's sake, then I think that he should be looking at where he's at City and going. And this is probably why this is why I've kind of part of the reason why I've suspected for a while that this is just new contract stuff. Is just because if you got to put the pressure. Presumably, he's asked for an amount of money that City have not said yes to. Although, I mean, obviously, otherwise they'd have signed it. But you know what I mean? Like that City are obviously quite a way off what he wants, and it's not uncommon. We're kind of fortunate in that we've not experienced it as a club for a while now. But it's not uncommon for players to just go to the media and just sort of start putting transfer rumors out there, trying to put that seed of doubt in the club's mind and the fans' mind that they might be off, to sort of put the pressure on the club to bow to what he wants. And I think ultimately Ederson will get a new contract and he won't go anywhere. But yeah, it sounds like he's just doing whatever he can to sort of maximize what he's paid. Because I think if you look at what he's achieved and what the club have achieved, in no small part because of him, he should be looking at, those top earners. He should be looking at Courtois and Neuer and thinking, well, I want to be closer to that than I want to be to fucking Aaron Ramsdale. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's absolutely fair.
I think you've got to put him in the 200 bracket for me. You know what I mean?
No, Gvardiol's not on 200 grand a week. Surely that's not true. I mean, he is mint, but like that's mad.
Yeah, apparently so.
What a guy.
According to this.
He's got a good agent, hasn't he? I think Ederson just needs to get, if we just got to pay him what he's worth, and what he's worth to our team is that kind of that like say that bracket of salary. Like it's your first choice goalkeeper. Like the goalkeeper is such a pivotal position because if Foden plays badly, there's someone in the team who could conceivably come in and do that. And you could argue that obviously if Ederson plays badly, then Ortega can come in and do that job. But I think we all know that, well, a lot of us know that Ortega isn't as good and probably isn't as consistent as Ederson over the course of an entire season. I mean, he could come in, maybe Ederson does go and maybe Ortega does step up to be our number one. But by all accounts, it sounds like we're looking at another goalkeeper if Ederson does leave. Is it Manyan, who I've seen rumoured?
Exactly,
and he's not going to come in. He's just going to come in and put Ortega on the bench all over again anyway. So I think that no matter what Ortega does, this is why I don't really think the two things are related, because I think if Ortega is going to sign a new deal, it's not going to change the fact that we're going to go for a legitimate world-class goalkeeper if Ederson does leave.
Plus, I don't think City would put a release clause in Ortega's contract if they thought he was going to be the number one, because that just leaves you vulnerable.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, what we're going to do is we're going to play you all season, watch you have a mint season, and then watch you leave for 20 mil at the end of the year when your release clause kicks in. No chance.
Okay, well, to move on to another player, and this player splits opinion. Julian Alvarez is believed to be keen on playing more regular in his preferred position of central striker. Well, that's not happening. To be honest with you, so let's just get that out there straight away. A loan exit for Julian Alvarez will not appeal to Manchester City, obviously. But Julian Alvarez, the interesting case of Alvarez, bro. He's had a bit of a weird year in the sense that if you actually look at his personal numbers, goals and assists, he's had a fantastic season. A lot of people think he's not particularly been very good. What's your take on Alvarez this year, bro? Because if I bring up his numbers on the screen, he's got 19 goals, 13 assists in all competitions this year, which is fantastic, especially when he wasn't even playing in his preferred position.
Yeah, absolutely.
But obviously, that's potentially one of the reasons that he might be seeking a move, because he's not playing striker. And now he might look at, I said this last week, he might be looking at the fact that Mbappe's just gone to Real Madrid and going, well, Haaland's not going to be going to Real Madrid anytime soon. And where else is Haaland going to go? So that means he's probably going to stay at City a little bit longer than maybe everyone expected at the beginning, meaning that I'm never going to get to play striker. Because let's be honest, whilst Erling Haaland's at this club, he'll be the number one striker. It's a fact.
Yeah. I mean, look at those numbers, man. Like, that's what more do you want from a backup striker? Like, I don't understand how. I find the whole sort of argument over Alvarez being, good enough or not good enough just fucking ridiculous, to be honest. Like, look at we had so a lot of people have said that he's actually quite a poor footballer in terms of, his first touch isn't great, like his dribbling could be better, stuff like that, or his passing range isn't the best. And maybe there's an element of truth in that. However, we had someone who was a good dribbler, had a good first touch, and had a decent passing range. His name was Gabriel Jesus, and he was shit in front of goal. And so, what do you want from a backup striker? Do you want someone who can come into the squad every now and then, or come off the bench and be clinical and get goals? Because that's what Alvarez is. He is clinical and he does score goals. Like, no matter what else you might think about his ability elsewhere. Or do you want a Gabriel Jesus who is a very good presser, and which also Alvarez is, to be fair? Like, there's a reason why he played so much, and it's because Pep really values that stuff off the ball that he does do. Do you want someone who is the clinical backup, who might not have the all-round footballer game that everybody wants? Or do you want somebody who is that all-round good footballer, like Gabriel Jesus, but cannot hit a fucking barn door with it? If you give him like I think I saw a compilation yesterday doing the rounds of all these De Bruyne chances created, where they just resulted in no goals. And I swear, it's literally just like a Sterling and Jesus fail compilation.
Yeah,
and people forget that that's what we had. And that's why we sold him for 50 mil. And that's why we've brought in Alvarez. And I think that, he doesn't. I kind of agree that a lot of his performances in midfield haven't been amazing midfielder performances. Like, he obviously isn't a midfielder. I don't think anybody can really dispute that.
Agreed.
But at the same time, even when he was playing in midfield, I think he sort of went off the boil a bit towards the end of that time, where, just before De Bruyne came back, and he was starting to look really sort of ineffective in that position. But for a good while, for a good while, he was getting goals and assists, like despite his performances not being great. And I think that we've just watched like Gundogan and Mahrez go out the door last summer, who no matter what people thought about how they might, Mahrez in particular, a lot of people thought he drifted in and out in games. But one thing he was a numbers machine. And sometimes your squad just needs players who are mint at numbers. And that's what Alvarez is. So yeah, if you're someone who wants Alvarez sold, I've got absolutely no idea what you want from our squad players, because that's what Alvarez is. And that's what he brings. Now, on a personal level, I understand why he may be looking at his situation and maybe thinking, well, I want to play as a striker, and I want to do that week in, week out. Fine. But didn't he just sign a new deal like not that long ago? Like the guy's like,
but
the guy's not going anywhere on the cheap. Like it's going to be a case.
No, he's not going anywhere on the cheap. Facts.
Yeah, you're looking at the sort of, well, the numbers that have been touted around, really. You're looking at 70, 80, 90 million for him, which I think is absolutely fair given what his, his goal output is like.
Especially the state of the striker market. It's dead.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, how long ago was Victor Osimhen like the guy who everyone's talking about? And now Napoli are looking at it like, oh shit, we can't even get rid of him anymore. Like, it's people like but that's because, and again, that's because Osimhen's people are asking for insane money because they know that the striker market's like so sparse at the moment. And so Alvarez knows there's probably like 4 or 5 big, like Barcelona would probably snap their hands off for him because Lewandowski's 30 odd and not getting any younger. PSG have just got rid of Mbappe, like you say, so maybe they're looking for a sort of big name, but obviously they've got Kolo Muani and Ramos, so maybe not. And then you've got like maybe the clubs in Italy can't afford him. Chelsea have obviously been the one who's been linked with him, but I just think that selling to another Premier League team should be like an immediate no, to be honest.
Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, if they've got the money to spend, I think I like it just because I like the idea of the Aguero sort of ish sort of return to Atletico Madrid, but ultimately, I think if he's not, it's kind of like Ederson. If he's not slamming down that door to say like, let me out, we should just there shouldn't be any debate. Like, I don't care what anyone offers for him. If we don't need the money, we're not a club who we're not Brighton or Dortmund. Like we're not a club that cannot turn down 90 million. Like we're absolutely fine. I think that we should just be keeping players like this until they want to leave, and I know that you feel like this as well, but I think we got rid of Mahrez probably a year too early last year. I don't want us to do. I don't want us to do the same with
and on the
player
cheap
like Alvarez.
We sold him on the cheap.
Yeah, that was a fucking that was an insane sale that it'll probably never make any sense to me. But I think Alvarez, we should just be keeping all of him if we can. And if he wants to go, if he's pushing pushing for an exit, then right, fine. Like that's kind of the way it goes with City. And if you really want it, then you'll get it. But we can't.
I think we can convince him to give us one more year.
Yeah.
Because he's only young and he's still played a lot of minutes. The issue is for Alvarez is, one, when everyone's fit, he's not in the team, and 2, he's not playing in his main position. But if we don't sign an attacking midfielder and we don't sign Bruno, we don't sign anyone, because I seen another rumor last night saying City might not sign anyone this summer. All right, brilliant.
It's sell to buy in it at the moment, which is mad. I can't believe
that. If we don't sign anyone, then Kevin De Bruyne's probably going to get injured again next year, which means he'll be back in the team in the midfield again and he'll play lots of minutes. I think you convince him to stay one more year and then potentially sell him next year if he's still not happy with his game time. But I think, to be honest with you, people have, because I've said Alvarez will leave since the day we signed him.
Yeah,
because it was clear to me that if he was as good as everyone was saying, and we wouldn't have signed Haaland. Oh yeah, we wouldn't have signed Haaland. But 2, if he's as good as everyone's saying, he's not going to be happy sitting on the bench.
Yeah,
this is the problem with the bench players. I always say this. It is harder to find backup players and squad rotation players than it is to sign starters. Because when you're signing a starter, you just go and sign the best of the best. It's not hard. Oh, you need a midfielder. Go and get me Kimmich. Go and get me Bruno. Go and get me whoever. Yeah?
Yeah.
When you're signing a backup player, you've got to look at them and say, right, okay, this player's going to be on the bench for a lot of the games. And then all of a sudden, they're going to be thrown into a big game. Are they good enough? And how are they? So, for example, Aguero. When Aguero come back from an injury, or if he was ever benched, he'd always take him a few games.
Yeah.
But, to get going. But with a squad player, that you can't really have that because the whole reason of them being a squad rotational player is that they come in when you need it, as and when. There's no point in having them if it's going to come in and say, "Oh yeah, I was shit today, but don't worry, in 4 or 5 games I'll be good." Well, you're not playing 4 or 5 games because the other player will be back. You've also got to make sure that they're happy to be on the bench. No point in having a player if they're going to cause you trouble. You know, there's these very different aspects of. I think it's more difficult to have a squad rotational player than it is to buy a. And as well, you got to make sure that they're not that good because if they are that good, they will just end up leaving, and then you just constantly changing it around.
Yeah.
So I think Alvarez, to be honest with you, will end up leaving at some point. Whether it's going to be this season, I think if an offer comes in upwards of 75 mil, something like that, and obviously Alvarez is like, no, I can go and start somewhere. I think
it's difficult for the clubs to say no to it. I think as much as I've made the point that we don't need to sell, and I think that if Alvarez is like, I want to, if we get that sort of 75, 80 mil offer, and Alvarez is like, no, I want to stay, we'll happily turn it down and say, cool, we're not going to go, no, mate, this is an amount of money we can't say no to. Like, you've got to go. Like, we'll keep him. But I think if Alvarez is like, oh, I'm kind of, if Atletico do come for me, I might want to go, and then Atletico come in and say, right, we'll give you 80 mil. I think at that point the club kind of go, well, yeah, you've given us a few years of good service. Like, you've won everything that you have with us. You aren't going to start every week. Like, I get why you want to go. We're going to make 60 mil profit on you. Like, off you go. And I think that for the rules that are in place at the moment, which obviously City are also not happy with. I think that we're in a position where that's a huge, that's a massive thing that we can do that. The only problem is, how do you replace him? Because we got to replace,
Well, did you see my tweet the other day?
No, I haven't seen it. No, I don't think so. I might have done, just don't remember it. But it's like, do you remember when Spurs tried to sign back? Like, they gave up on it in the end, trying to sign a backup for Harry Kane. Like, how do you do it? How do you do that? You need to get, like, if you're going to do it, you've got to sign a sort of 19, 20-year-old who's like on the up and up, who's going to be grateful.
Or someone who's sort of like finished.
Yeah, you've got to go for it. You can't get someone who's like in the prime era. You've got to go they're either on the front end or the back end of the career. And I think that you're someone who's either grateful for the 15, 20 games a season that they'll get because it's on their way to becoming like a really good player, or someone who's like, yeah, I'm slowing down a bit now. I just need to play X number of games, and I need
let me pull up this tweet that I put out the other day. I want to know your take on this one. Is this a shocker, or is this a real smart move?
Is it Edin Dzeko? Please say Edin Dzeko.
It's not Edin Dzeko.
Oh, that'd be great. So yeah, I have seen Griezmann touted around before.
He's 33, so he's more on the sort of like he's 33. So he's more on the side of you're signing him and saying you're going to be back up to Haaland, bro, but you're 33, like you're going to play for Manchester City. First time playing in England as well, like he's never played in England before, so that might appeal.
As a player, I think I really like it because he can do that striker role. But if you're also going to be looking at Alvarez and sort of saying, well, half the reason we need you is because De Bruyne is probably going to get injured at some point, Griezmann is much more suited to that than Alvarez is. Obviously, if you were to ask me, would I happily sell Alvarez to get Griezmann in? The answer would still be no. But
yeah, same here.
But if Alvarez does go, I think we could do worse as a short-term replacement.
12 mil as well, bro. Yeah, 12 apparently.
But the only thing is, he's going to ask for silly money, and he's still on stupid wages at Atletico Madrid.
I checked the other day. I think he's on 250,000 euros.
Is it?
Yeah, he took a pay.
If he wants to bring that down to 150 at Manchester City, then cool. But I think, I wouldn't hate it. I think that it's a bit risky when you have like a 33-year-old come into the Premier League, given the speed and the pace of it. But I also think that Griezmann is like insanely talented to the point where he probably wouldn't. He'd probably be able to do. If you're going to think of him as like I'm trying to think who I can sort of relate it to, like a sort of not a late David Silva, but someone who where he's much less mobile, but his technical ability is kind of what does the job for him. Like, I think ultimately as a striker, he probably wouldn't play that. He'd be more false nine-ish, wouldn't he, than like an actual full-on striker to replace Haaland. But yeah, I'd be happy. I'd be all right with it. I wouldn't hate it, but I think I'd still prefer to see like a young guy come in who can who can be a backup, because I think that's always more
Sesko.
exciting.
Would you take Sesko?
No, I think the problem with Sesko is that he's probably going to be looking. He wants the minutes that like because when he went to when he went to Leipzig, he was sort of he's I mean, he has played a lot of minutes for Leipzig this season. I think he kind of wants to sort of that trajectory to go up and up and up. And I don't think we're going to be able to even approach, like, Arsenal seems like the perfect fit. Like they've been linked to them, Anthony, and it seems like he's sort of the perfect fit for them to sort of get.
Who would you go for then? If we sold him, who would be your? Because Griezmann's the guy I look at and go, Griezmann, 12 mil, 33. He's not going to complain about minutes. I still think he's good enough. Who's your name? Or do you not have one?
The only other names that would even make the list are like players who are obviously like not attainable. Like the kind of player that you would like is like an Evan Ferguson type. Like, he's a player that you would, based off, obviously last season was just like, you can fucking write that off for him. I don't know what happened to him last season. But, you know, when you look at what his trajectory was like, sort of the end of the previous season and the start of last season. So I don't think he wouldn't. But obviously, it's never going to happen, like, ever, because Brighton would ask for 100 mil for him. And we're not doing that for a fucking. We're not doing that. But that's not to say he's the one. But it's that kind of level where, like, 19, 20, like, they've had a bit of Premier League exposure, or a bit of like a top league exposure, and they look good. They look like they can handle it, but they're ultimately not in a position where they can be like, I want to start every week for you as a Champions League club. But really, I feel like as a short term, especially with Pep being on the way out, Griezmann probably seems like the obvious shout, doesn't it? I think that's probably I wouldn't hate that. I think I'd be all right with that if it happened. Other than that, because if you try to think about anything else, you thought you're talking about like random sort of wonder kids from like South America who none of us have ever heard of, or you're looking at like the Evan Fergusons who are just so stupidly unattainable that there's no point.
It's a bit of a shame that Liam Delap wasn't coming through the academy now.
Yeah,
because if he was coming through if this was like 3 years ago when he was just coming through the academy and he was absolutely tearing up trees, then you could look at it and say, you know what, let's just send it. But obviously he's had a few.
Even then, Pep never would he? Like, if you look at his track record in the last few years, like,
I know,
it just doesn't happen.
No, but yeah, it's an interesting one. I think Griezmann is a decent option. Who else is out there? I mean, the striker market is dead. So you're even getting, you're getting someone that is washed, or you're getting a young player. But again, who are these young players? And again, you've got the problem of get a young player, but if they're already known, then we're going to run into the problem that you mentioned, which is Evan Ferguson, 100 mil. So then it sort of defeats the object of the point.
It becomes pointless then.
Exactly. What you kind of want to do is if you are selling Alvarez, which again, I'm against, you get the money, you cash in the 60, 70 million profit, whatever it's going to be, and then you go and spend, 20, 25, maybe 30 million, you know what I mean, on the new player, leaving you with 30 million left over. You've got a new player, 30 mil, everyone's happy, and you develop the young player again. But obviously, the problem is with these young players, because there's not many around. You probably are looking at the South American market again. You know what I mean? But you look at the South American market, for me, I've said this for a long time, I think you just hitting red or black when you go into that, because it's South American market.
It's so hit and miss.
Yeah, exactly. Any other players? Bernardo Silva, not really much going on there. The same conversation every year with Bernardo Silva, but to be honest with you, I'm not really hearing a lot.
It don't feel like he's going, does it? It feels like every year we go through the same merry-go-round of like.
I've got to say, my honest opinion at this moment in time is that I don't think he is going to leave, because I don't see who's going to sign him. The only team that I could see signing him is PSG. That's it.
Yeah. And I don't, and the fact that there's not been even any hint of that so far, especially given it's a release clause. Like, if they're going to do it, I think it would have just been very easy for them to just do. There's not really much to discuss there.
Isn't it mad? 50 million quid and no one wants him.
No one wants him. It's the maddest. It's just like it's so strange. I think there's also a quote he had yesterday, didn't he, where he was talking about João Neves, saying,
telling him to join City.
I'd like for him to be playing with me or something like that. And I haven't seen the quote, so I don't know how obvious it is that he was referring to Manchester City at that point.
I think I think he said, I've told him to join City.
Oh, has it?
I think so. Let me bring it up on extra. 1 sec. Let me see if I can find it.
But if he's saying things like that now, that probably tells you, doesn't it? And I also think that if he or the club were convinced that this is definitely it, the season that he goes like 100% nailed on, I think they'd have made a bigger thing of it at the end of the season. Like there would have been something for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Facts. There was nothing. So this is what he said. He said, I would say to him, go to Man City right now. It's not easy. He's a player that many clubs want because of the success he had last season. He said, I don't have any inside information, but I think so from what I hear. As a Portuguese, and because I appreciate him a lot, I would like him to have him by my side at City. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
I think he's stable. I think basically the situation is, he said the thing is, right, he said he's always wanted to go back to Benfica when he's 32. Right?
Yeah.
The problem for him is now he's 30 now, isn't he? So the problem is if someone pays the 50 million release clause, you know, they're not going to let him just go to Benfica in 2 seasons on the cheap. Because he'll probably still be worth about 50 million quid in 2 seasons. Whereas City, I think City will say, because I've said personally, I'd let Bernardo go on a free to Benfica in 2 years.
Yeah.
I'd say to him, listen, if you stay at City for another 2 years, we've tried to let you go. Like we put a release clause. We've done everything on our part. We've done everything on our end to help you get the move. You know, we've respected the fact that you've stayed 2-3 seasons, but you've not wanted to be here. And you put in the work. We give you a 50 million release clause, which is probably euros, which is even better for him. And we've done everything possible, and he's not been able to go. Stay for another 2 years, because there's no point in leaving now, because then you're going to screw Benfica move. And literally, we will let you go Benfica on a free transfer. And I wouldn't even be asked about that, bro. How long have we had him for? He would have done about, what, 8 years?
Yeah.
And he would, and half of that time, he didn't even want to be here. And he's never once shown that the performance level has dipped
if you didn't know
of him not wanting to be here.
Yeah, if you didn't know via the media talk that he doesn't want to be here and that he wants to be here, you would have looking at him on the pitch, you would have genuinely no idea that's the case. Like, honestly, I think I hope that the fact that he's wanted to leave these last few years doesn't, and I don't feel like it has based on what fans think about him, but I hope it doesn't like taint people's view of him when it comes to like when he actually does go.
Bro, he can't do that because he's wanted to leave because of his own situation. It's not like he said he's just fallen out with everyone and like he's been a twat.
Yeah.
He's like
he just wants to be home.
Leave. It's like Sane left. You know, he just wanted to go back to Germany, man. Like he wanted to go to the biggest club. He's German, and he wanted to go back to the biggest club in Germany. I wasn't sat there saying, "Oh, you Judas!" Like, it's not like that, isn't it?
I think, I'd personally be absolutely fine with us just keeping him for those next 2 years, and then as you say, just let him go on a free to Benfica. Like I think that, as you say, because if someone signs him now, it's a 4-year deal minimum, and then he's 34, and he could still go back to Benfica, and Benfica would probably happily have him back at the age of 34, like no danger, I think, because of Bernardo and the kind of player he is. And it's weird how I don't think he ever actually kicked a ball for the first team, but he's like a sort of not a legend, but he's a bit of an iconic player for Benfica because of like what he's gone on to do and like how he loves the club and stuff. And I think I'm sure he's talked about getting involved in like the sort of the higher up like levels at Benfica at some point, because he absolutely loves that club to a silly degree, and I think that they'd welcome him back no matter what age he is. But I think Bernardo wants to go back when he's at an age where he can actually be good and like still like do something for him, rather than just when he's, you know, on his last legs getting a sort of victory lap kind of year. And I think, you know, if Benfica do get rid of, I think I mentioned this last time I was on as well, but I think if they get rid of Neves, like, just throw 50 mil our way and just do it. Like if they want to do that, I wouldn't hate that as a move. I think that obviously maybe with Bernardo's age, like he's even if it's Benfica, he's probably not going to ask for nothing to be paid. He's going to ask for quite high wages that maybe Benfica don't feel too comfortable with, given his, you know, the amount of time he'd be on it. But yeah, if you're going to offer a scenario to me where we either sell Bernardo now and get money for him, or keep him for 2 years and let him go on a free to Benfica, like I'll take 2 more years and let him go for free, like all day
Absolutely.
long. He's so good. Like I know that he's one of those. He's become a player certainly over the last 12 months where it's like you aren't really like, his numbers do not give you the impression that he's a very good player. He's despite playing out on the wing, he's not really a goals and assists kind of guy, but I think just the work rate and sort of everything that he does off the ball is
the intelligence in it.
It's those kind
of
things.
Intelligence is not shown transfer marked. You know what I mean? It doesn't come up as a
Yeah.
stat, you know, and that's true.
You're not
I've
getting you're
said
not getting a foot mob rating for your
you're not, you're not.
intelligence levels.
No, you're not getting a foot mob rating when he drops into the midfield just to calm things down for a couple of minutes when we're maybe a bit under
Yeah.
the pressure. Foot mob ain't going, oh, give him an extra point for that. Listen, just before we wrap up, it has just come out now, actually, that
Has it?
Ortega's contract is only a 1-year contract extension. So it's only
Oh,
a 1 year.
that
tells me,
screams new number one to me. Goodbye, Ederson.
yeah,
Like he can't.
yeah, exactly.
We're going to give our new number one a 2-year contract, aren't we? Like, well,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
yeah.
Facts.
This doesn't move the needle on Ederson for me at all. This feels like it's
No.
just Ederson's a totally separate situation, and
It
Moreno's
is.
and
100%.
Ortega is very much staying as a backup, if anything else, which is
Absolutely.
great. Which is great. I'm so glad that we managed to keep him down.
He'll be
With
sold
that
next
being the
year for the
case.
release clause. Guaranteed he
Yeah.
gets sold next year for the release clause. 100%.
Nailed on. But I think
Yeah.
it gives him a way out, and it gives, obviously if there'll be a couple of clubs in Germany by that point who are looking for another goal, who'll be looking for a goalkeeper, and yeah, Neuer has got to be on his way out by then, and maybe Bayern want a short-term stopgap replacement, and there he is available for what 15-20 mil or something.
Yeah,
we kind of reward him for what he's done at the club, and yeah, works out nicely for everyone.
absolutely. Well, I think that was pretty much everyone. Alvarez, Gomez, Ortega, Ederson, and so all the transfer rumors are done. Big up for you for jumping on, bro. Appreciate you giving me your time, man, especially at 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning.
Nah, I'm well awake by this time. It's a problem with working 9 to 5. Like my body clock is just I'm awake at like 7 a.m. no matter what.
Jeez, no lying for you, no.
I know, no, it's a shame.
Dear. Up to much this weekend, bro?
I'm going out for food later actually, and then I think I'm gonna go for a bike ride tomorrow. But that's about it really.
Oh, you're on a bike ride hype as well?
I am. Yeah, I'm on the bike ride hype. I think I went for one last week, and that's just kind of given me the itch to sort of.
I think I might have seen. Did you put it on your Instagram? I might have seen.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Nice 30. I think it was 38K in the end, which killed me as a first bike ride in a long time. But yeah. I'm actually, obviously naturally the forecast is it's going to rain tomorrow, which is fantastic. But yeah.
Oh shit. Yeah. Amos likes his biking, doesn't he? I've seen.
He does. Yeah. He's been getting on it as well recently, which is kind of one of the reasons why I was like, oh yeah, I used to ride my bike. So yeah. But yeah, that's about it really.
All right, cool. Sweet. Well, big up for coming on, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. If you did, smash a like. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well if you're new. Make sure you get us your comments in down below about some of these players. Where do you see Ortega? Do you have a different opinion? He signed a new deal. Do you think that maybe no, actually, he could be the number one? Let us know thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out. See you later.